Hey guys, hope you are well. It's Anthony Kirby here. Hope you can hear me all right. I'm just going to open this up and make sure it's working.
Hey guys, hope
there we
you
go.
are well. It's Anthony Kirby here.
Perfect. We are live. And this is the first of many Friday trainings that we'll be doing here in the Business Owners Club. And so today we're going to talk about how to build unstoppable momentum in the new financial year. So if you're in Australia and you're watching this, you'll be very aware that we're about 3 hours away from business perspective, 3 hours away from finishing up our financial year. And I think one of the biggest things that I'm seeing with business owners is that, there's a lot of people thinking about things that aren't necessarily important in their business. And so today I just want to give you a bit of a heads up on how you can start to create very easy momentum moving forward in your business. So there's basically, if this wants to work for me, 3 things that you need in order to develop a 90-day plan for your business. And the reason you want to work in 90-day blocks is because it's not so far ahead that you're going to get overwhelmed. And it's also, time's not going to get away on you either when you're working in a 90-day block. If you're jumping on, just say good day as well. I can see I've got a few people on, but I don't see any names. So say hello if you're on, just so I know you're here. And this whole concept of 90-day blocks is not new. In fact, it's not even new to me. I didn't make this up. It's just something that I've adapted to suit my own business requirements and the requirements of those that I work with. For me, the real benefit of a 90-day plan is that it gives you really clear steps that you need to take to move forward with your business. And I'm going to take you through the 3 things that you need in the next half an hour or so of this training, plus answer any of your questions that you might have as well about your plan. So the first thing you need to do is set a real outcome that is tangible and measurable for your business. So in the next 90 days, what is it that you want to see as an outcome for your business? Hey Natasha, hope you're well. What is it that you want to see as an outcome for your business that you know you'll be able to measure and you know is going to be very real and tangible for you? So a lot of people are going to set goals that are financial for their business. A lot of people would set outcomes that are perhaps around volume of goods or volume of services. A lot of people would set things up around the hours that they want to work. They are all real outcomes, which is really good. So I'd encourage you to come up with something that is a real outcome for you. To give you an idea of this, some of the ideas of this, just today we had a meeting with one of our clients who is moving overseas in about 6 months or so, and he needs to set up his business to be ready for him to do that. So in order for that to be the case, we went through for his 90-day plan today and worked out how many clients he's going to need in his business as a real outcome for him to be able to do what he wants to do financially. So that was a very tangible outcome because we can measure it. We can see how many clients he's got. We can see how many clients he needs to attain over any given period of time. And so I'd ask you, what are your real outcomes? And make sure you write those down on a piece of paper. Make sure you're very clear on them so that you can keep an eye on them, I suppose. All right. I'm going to talk to you about something a bit different, which is part of this whole thing of setting a real outcome. Now, most people, when they set their goals, they do focus on an outcome, like number of clients, or they focus on a dollar amount. So that's not a bad place to start to get you some abstract understanding of your goal. So, you might set a goal of 100 clients, or you might set a goal of $100,000 in income. But what you need to do in order to make sure that you maintain momentum, because that's what this training is all about today, is about creating momentum in your business, is to use a goal that is process driven. Now, what do I mean by that? If you have a financial or an outcome goal, it might sound like making $100,000 in sales. If we move that into a process goal, that's where we take the act of making $100,000 and we ask ourselves the question, what do I need to do in order for this to be a reality? And we break it down into tangible activity. And again, it's important that it's real outcomes that we're looking at here. So we're still talking about real outcomes. So in this instance here, if you know that if you make 5 sales calls per day And if you do one value-adding live stream per day to your community, and you post on your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever network it might be twice per day, if you know that that equates to a result for you, then you also know that by doing that every single day of the year, you're going to move towards the financial goal that you've got in mind. So let's just say if your 90-day goal was to make $100,000 in sales, and you knew that on average you needed to make 5 calls per day to make that happen based on your conversion rates, then obviously this is going to make it much simpler for you to get ahead. So let me just give you some examples of some of the numbers you might need for this. One of the first things you might need is to understand what your conversions are. And what I mean by conversions is how many names, numbers, email addresses that you need before you can move them through a sales process of some description and turn them into a prospect and or a client customer of your business. Okay? I hope that makes sense so far. Now, when you've got your conversions, you also need to know how much it's going to cost to do that. So if you know there's a cost attached to you creating a lead in your business via Facebook advertising or whatever methodology that might be, then again, it's very important for you to understand how that cost correlates to how many people you need to get into your business, and then from how many people you need to get into your business, how many calls you need to make per day to make that happen, and so on, so on, so on. So essentially, you're breaking down any financial or outcome goal into a process-driven goal, and then you're setting up your activity in your business from now until the end of the next 90 days around completing these processes every single day, because you know that that's going to give you a result at the end of the day. Now, Facebook's telling me that the broadcast has been interrupted. I don't know if it has. I will jump back in there and check if it's still live. Yes, it is. Perfect. We'll keep going. All right. If you guys can still hear me, just let me know. And that's not a cliche thing about making sure that we've got people on the thing and getting your compliance. That's letting me know that you're on. All right. So, one thing I want to say to you, and I love this picture, is that success isn't sexy. Now, people have this, image of business and how, how it comes together. And, it's so easy. We'll go out and drink coffee all day, and we'll take our friends for lunch at fancy restaurants, and, we'll go and sit on a beach and drink martini. It's not what it is, right? It's the consistency that wins the day for you. And that's why I keep coming back to this process goal. Because the process goal, it's boring work often, and it is consistent momentum that you're looking to create that will give you your success. I tried to get a better picture of Cullen, but sadly I couldn't find one on Google, so we had to do with this one from his birthday last year. I'm sure he'll be having a giggle if he's watching that now, hopefully. Oh dear, that's my terrible sense of humour. Cullen's laughing. That's good. All right. So I know that when you write these process goals, I know that when you come up with what it is that you want to achieve in your 90-day block, like, it's not always going to be something that is sexy. It's not going to look sexy on paper. And if your friends say, why are you doing all these calls? They're boring things to do. Again, to take it back to the conversation I had with this particular client a little earlier today, I said, I've got some homework for you. And his homework was to go and listen to his market. And what I mean by that is he has 50 clients that he's currently working with. That's 50 clients. And what I wanted him to do is go and ask them for feedback on how he's performing and whether they're finding value in what he does. Now, that's a hard conversation to have if you yourself feel that you are incongruent with what you've promised and what you've delivered. So I could see that he was a little bit hesitant. And he asked me, what's number 2 and 3 of my homework? And I said, well, you're not getting that until you've done number 1, because I know that you're going to ignore number 1 and you're going to make an excuse for why number 1 can't be done. And you're going to focus on number 2 because that's the easy thing for you to do, because it's comfortable for you to do. Where I want you to do number 1 and be in that space of feeling uncomfortable, because the consistency of him doing that exercise, the consistency of him asking those questions, which are difficult questions to his clients, and hearing sometimes a difficult answer that he might not want to hear for whatever reason, be that egotistical or whatever, that's the stuff that's going to set him free, and that's the stuff that's going to show him how to win in his business moving forward by listening to his market first and going asking hard questions. So is that sexy for him? Absolutely not. But is it consistent exercise that is going to move him forward? Absolutely. And for him, success isn't going to be sexy in the next 2 weeks. That's going to be a grind for him. It's going to be hard work for him to get through that. But it is the most required thing for him in his business right now. And it doesn't involve pictures of cats, piles of money, Lamborghinis, or bikini-clad girls on Instagram at all. It's just him doing the grind, getting on the phone, asking the questions, getting the work done, and getting a result for it as well. Hopefully this is making sense so far. If you've missed the first part, tough shit, get here on time, go watch the replay when it's finished. Right, next thing we've got to look at, now that we've got a real outcome in mind, and we've got some idea of the resources, of the process goals that we need to set, now we've got to look at what resources we need to achieve this. So there are really 3 resources that you need to be mindful of. The first resource that you need to be mindful of is the people that need to be involved. So again, bring this back to something that might have happened in your business before. I'm going to give you a real example of what's going on in our business right now. We are relaunching our Predictable Growth Academy program, which is, yeah, Martin, always keeping it real. Predictable Growth Academy program is a program for business owners. It's an online program with some guidance and mentoring from myself and the team. And to reboot that and to get that out into the market with a revised agenda and with some better quality content and some deeper content engagement, I can't do all of that on my own. So I know that from my perspective, from my resources, the people that I need to engage in that to get it done by the end of my 90-day plan, I obviously have to engage Cullen in that process. I have to engage Steve in that process for the marketing aspect of it. And I have to engage Mira in that from recording of content and better quality of video, because we want this to be a world-class program for the world-class content that's in there. So from a people perspective, I am not doing this on my own. And I need to be very aware of the people that I need to bring into this exercise and make sure that I clearly communicate with them what my expectations are, and also that I'm given a real outcome to them as well to tie into the first aspect of this. The second thing that I need to look at is the time frame attached to what you want to achieve for the 90 days. Is it achievable to achieve what you want to achieve with the resources that you have available for you in time? Right now in my world, time is very stretched. You know, my wife's currently on bed rest still. We're due to have our baby anytime soon. Hopefully soon, rather than any time. And, you know, for me, time is the most precious resource in my world right now. And so it means that when I do have a full day, it is back-to-back, you know, no gaps. Like today, we had a working lunch. We had a meeting with a client whilst we ate. It's just intense. So for me, time is a big factor. So if I'm looking at the fact that we're going to have to pump out, you know, 50 videos for the Predictable Growth Academy program, I'm asking myself the question, how much time do I need to allocate for each of those videos? How much time do we need to allow for video editing? How much time do we need to allow for upload of those videos online and then into the program? You know, we need to allow time for templates. We need to allow time for all of the stuff that we give to our clients in that program. We need to allow time to have meetings about the program to make sure we're on track. So you need to be very clear on what your time resources need to look like for that, and be honest about whether it's possible and feasible for you. The third thing that we need to have a look at is capital, or money. Now, cash flow is obviously paramount for anything that we do when it comes to growing the business. And so we've got to ask, do I have the capital required to make this goal happen? And if you don't, how can you go about getting it? Because for all of these 3, by the way, for people, for time, for capital, if you don't have it, the next question for you needs to be, how can I get it? Not dwelling on the fact that you don't have it, but asking, what do I need to do? Who do I need to connect with? In what way do I need to allocate my resources to get this happening and getting the right people on board in the right time and with the right amount of capital involved? Or how can I reduce capital with strategic alliances, so on, so on, so on. So, you know, looking at your capital allocation is very, very important. So for us, again, if I bring it back to the example of relaunching Predictable Growth Academy, from a capital perspective, it's not going to take that much capital other than the videography time. Obviously, we pay the videographer, Mira, to help us with the recording of content. I have to pay Cullen wages. I have to pay Steve wages to be involved as well. So from that aspect, I do need some capital, but it's not exponential. I mean, it's not to the extent that it's going to send me over the edge. But I need to be mindful of that to make sure that I've got that in place as we roll that program out. Again, rolling it back to the example of the previous client that I'm referring to that we met with today. You know, what resources does he need to complete the task that I've given him? People, he only needs himself. Time, he needs some of that for sure. He's got to make 50 phone calls. That could take him a week if he's doing them properly. And from a capital perspective, as long as he can pay his phone bill, he's going to be good. So look at those three things. They're the main three things that I would recommend you look at from your resourcing perspective. Some questions to consider when you're looking at your resources is, who do I need to speak to or connect with in order to make the goal happen, to make your outcome happen? Ask yourself, how long will the step likely take? And always allow more time than you think you need. I mean, in my experience, and this is talking about my business and other businesses, I find that everything you think takes 1 day takes 3. So allow more time than you feel is necessary, and also make sure that you're very clear on the people that you need to have involved, and also how much it's going to cost for each step, and whether you've got the required cash flow for it. Don't send yourself broke to achieve something. If you can achieve a portion of it and make progress and build momentum, do that first. The cash flow will follow if you do a good job of it. The third thing you need to do is to be able to measure your results, and you need to be able to build momentum with the results that you're creating. And what I mean by that is, in business, there's usually 1,000 things on your to-do list. There's usually 1,000,000 things that you think have to be done, but the reality is always that there's only ever one kink in the hose. And what I mean by that is, there's only ever one thing that really matters to you. So what you need to do is look at what's in front of you, and you need to ask yourself, what is the thing that's stopping me from moving to the next step? Don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about the thing that's at the end of the race. Worry about what's the next step that you need to take in order to move to the next part of the process of achieving your goal. Don't reinvent the wheel. If you find something that's worked, if it's worked for somebody else, if it's working for you, stick with it. If it's working, it's working. We have a client who's just joined one of our programs, and without going into details of what he does for work, we gave him a very clear strategy that he could roll with, and then he basically did the exact opposite and went around in a circle for a whole week. And then we spoke to him, and we said, "Why did you do that?" And he said, "Oh, I'm not really sure, because it just seemed like the right thing to do." He reinvented the wheel when he didn't have to. We gave him a solution of somebody within our network and within his network who could help him to do the thing that he wanted to provide to his marketplace, but to leverage that and to still create income from it for his business without him taking up crucial hours as a solopreneur. And he tried to reinvent the wheel, and that's exactly what got him into trouble in the first place. So you must remember not to reinvent the wheel, and you must remember that if it's working, stick with it. Don't think that you have to change it. If it works, it works. Don't worry about people getting bored. The only person who ever got bored of Frank Sinatra singing New York, New York was Frank Sinatra. The people who attended his concerts every single week, they didn't get bored of it. They loved it. That was the showstopper. But for him, he might have sang that song 20,000 times in his career. And every single time he belted it out just like it was the first time he'd done it. And the reason he did that was because he wasn't reinventing the wheel. And if it's working, it's working. He understood that that's what worked for him. He kept doing it. He kept reaping the rewards. He kept filling the bank because of it. There are examples of marketers in the world. There's a guy called Gary Halbert who's no longer with us. He's dead. He wrote a letter called the Coat of Arms letter. That letter has made billions in sales. And the reason it's made billions in sales is because it worked. And he just kept rolling it out again and again and again. And he didn't keep changing the letter. He didn't say, "Geez, we've made some money out of that. Let's change it now because we're bored of it." He knew that the market was resonating with what he had produced. So he kept putting it out there time and time and time again. And he kept reaping the reward time and time again. It's exactly the same thing, different analogy. But what I'm saying is, once it works, if you're finding something in your process that's working for you, stick with it. In our business right now, I'll tell you what's working really, really well for us. Stuff like this. Adding value to our community in this way. Adding training that people would normally pitch you at the end of. Most people who do a webinar or a slide like this, at the end of it, they'd pitch you a program. We don't do that because we know that the value is where it lies, and that works for us. So we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just allowing it to be, and we're allowing that to build momentum for us. Slowly, and granted it is slow, because it's It's far slower to educate a market and build value than it is to go out and belt them over the head with an offer, but your market sticks around a lot longer as well. All right. In your business, for this plan to be effective, you should only choose 3 to 5 focus areas. So in your 90-day plan, only choose 3 to 5 focus areas that you want to focus on in the next 90 days. My opinion and my strong recommendation is that you focus on the following areas: sales or revenue creation, marketing or authority position in your marketplace, systems, so things to leverage your time or leverage your resources, and of course your finances, because as I said earlier today, if you ain't got no money, you ain't got no mission. So if your cash flow runs out, you can't do the thing that you love anymore. So you must keep an eye on your cash flow. And this has been especially important, to tell you some truths about our business. In the last couple of months, it's been one of the biggest things that I've noticed as we've scaled up and as we've taken on more overhead, whilst we've had clients to support that. It doesn't take much to upset that balance, and you've got to be very mindful of that, because if suddenly someone doesn't pay their invoice for a couple of weeks, that can put you into a bit of strife, So just be very careful of that. So make sure you've got a very clear cash flow forecast, and if that's one of the areas that you don't yet have in your business, focus on it. Make it one of your 90-day focus points. If you are currently struggling to create sales in your business, I would say focus on your marketing, because marketing is a function of sales and sales is a function of marketing. Because if nobody knows who you are, if nobody knows how you add value, if nobody knows what makes you different to the competitor that is $10 cheaper than you, then there's no way they're going to choose you. They're not even going to put you on their shopping list. One of the biggest things that I teach people is don't worry about selling to somebody. Worry about getting onto their shopping list. Worry about being so attractive to that person that they can't refuse you. Worry about being so attractive to that person that their curiosity gets the better of them, and they just have to ask the question of, well, what do you do? Or how can you help me? And you'll be surprised what happens when you change your mindset to being that of, I've just got to absolutely sell to everything, instead of saying, you know what, I just want people to know that we're here for their consideration. And based on that consideration, some of them will choose to build with, or some of them will choose to buy with us, some of them will choose not to. I think you'll find that will make a big difference in how you approach your sales conversations as well. In your sales conversations, are you having enough sales conversations? If you're not currently generating enough income, but you're getting plenty of leads, then you've got a sales problem. You've got a process problem. It's never about the leads. If you've got leads, it's not the quality of leads. It's usually the quality of the conversations you're having with those leads. You're either trying to sell to them too quickly, you're not providing them enough value so that you can sell to them easily, or they're just not clear on what you do. And if they've got no clarity, if they've got no certainty, you're going to really struggle to get them over the line in any event, at any price, with any product or service. In terms of your systems, one of the biggest things we're looking at in our business right now is getting the information out of my head and into paper, because right now everything comes back to me, and that's killing me basically, because everyone wants to deal with Kirby. So that's a big thing that we're trying to change, is to systemize a lot more of our business so that I can go away on holiday and somebody else can carry the can for me while I'm away, and the clients still get an exceptional service experience with us, and that's working really well for us. So I know that you, right now, if you're listening to this or if you're watching the replay, you're going to know that there's things in your business that you've neglected. You might even know exactly what those things are. I'd encourage you to get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. Write down the things that are really going to move the needle forward. Don't worry about pissy little tasks that won't make a difference. It's not important if it's not going to move the needle of your business. The big thing you got to ask yourself is, in your business, if there's a certain area, whether it's sales, marketing, systems, finances, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now moving me forward? Is what I'm doing right now moving me forward? And if the answer to that question is no, stop doing it. Put it on a stop doing list. Get rid of it. Burn it. Throw it in the bin. Throw it out the window. I don't care what you got to do. Don't do it anymore, because you're going to waste your time. You're going to waste your effort, and you're going to waste your resources, which takes you back to your resources aspect of this equation. Okay? So here's what I want to ask you is, what is the outcome in each area for you? If you've chosen those 3 to 5 focus areas for the next 90 days, the question I've got for you is, what is your outcome in each area? And it has to be a real outcome. Remember that this has to be about a real outcome that is tangible and measurable for you at the end of this 90 days, and every day and week in between as well. What resources do you need for each of those areas of focus that you're focusing on? So if you're focusing on sales, what resources do you need from a time perspective, people perspective, and a cash flow capital perspective? And finally, how will you know when you get there? If you can't measure the thing that you're looking at, there's no way you're going to be able to manage it. So you must be able to measure it. And that's why it comes back to having a real outcome that's tangible, or you'll never know when you're going to get there. So make sure you're very, very clear on those things. Okay. Now, if you've got any questions, you can pop them in the comments. I'm going to stay on the line here for a couple of minutes. I'll just mute my microphone, and I'll pick up on any questions you guys might have. If you don't have any questions, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next Friday for another episode.